This is an introvert. He lacks social skills and spends most of his time alone. On the other end of the room is an extrovert. He's outgoing and has a good network of people he can rely on. If you had to guess, who between the introvert and the extrovert is the richest? Most people would pick the extrovert. Yet, there are more introverts in the top 10 richest men on the planet than there are extroverts. But why is that? And how can you draw inspiration from introverts to get to their level of wealth? 1937, Omaha. A young boy enters the library. He wears a modest white t-shirt and leather shoes, a typical 7-year-old kid at the time. But while other children are reading fiction stories, the little boy goes for informative books. At the end of the library is the investing section. Since the first day, it is where you could find the young boy every time you went to the library. He spent all his time reading, so much so that at 11 years old, he had already read all the books about money investing available at the library. $114. This is the amount the little boy invested for his first time ever. At only 11, he was a proud owner of a part of an oil company. When you hear this story sounds like the biography of a prodigy. So how well did the young boy's investment do after so much studying? A few days after his first investment, the little kid checked the newspaper to see how his investment was doing. When he found the right page, he was horrified. The young boy's investment of $114 had shrunk to only $81. In just days, he had lost 30% of his money. Devastated, the little kid decided to let it sleep and hoped it would revert to normal. Despite all the time spent studying at the library, the prodigy was now failing. So how did the story end up? Did he quit after his deception? Or did he continue and force his way to success? This story is the one of a man you probably already know. The young boy is Warren Buffett, the introverted man who became the richest man on the planet in 2008. So what was the secret Buffett had as an introvert that helped him succeed? Bubble. This is the word that describes best what led Buffett to get to the top of the world. Bubble is the introvert space, alone or with people in your interest circle. We all have a part of introversion in ourselves, but some have bigger introversion spaces than others. Some have big bubbles, others have smaller ones. The bubble is essential to success. In order to reap the reward, you must be good at something. And to be good at something, you need to develop skills. Warren Buffett became the richest man on the planet because he was good at investing. But he had to develop the skills of a good investor. The size of your bubble also determines how fast you will develop those skills that separate you from being good at something. The bigger the bubble, the more introverted you are, and the best you are at mastering skills. Warren Buffett had a bigger bubble than the average person, and his achievements illustrate quite well his bubble size. But why is it that introverts develop skills faster than extroverts? To answer this question, we need to see how Warren Buffett went from an 11 years old losing money to the richest man on the planet. After his first investment venture, Buffett continued on his habit of staying in his bubble devouring books, until one day, this happened. This is The Intelligent Investor.
It really changed my whole life. I'd be a different person in a different place if I hadn't have first seen that book.
The book covered a philosophy Buffett fell in love with, but it didn't stop there. The young investor was thirsty for knowledge and obsessed with understanding businesses. His eagerness to go further made him enroll at Columbia Business School in New York. Arrived in class, a man is standing in front of the room. It is the teacher. Black hair, dark suit. His name is Benjamin Graham, the author of the book Buffett loved so much. He chose that university solely because his idol taught there. But despite being devoted to his learning journey, Buffett was silent. He wasn't very social, and despite having good grades, he didn't try to outshine others. 1951. Warren Buffett just graduated from Columbia Business School. This meant Buffett no longer had access to his teacher. But he didn't see it that way. His admiration for the author only kept on growing, and so he made a decision. Buffett walked up to his idol and asked to work for him. No. That's what he got for an answer. He was the best student, yet he was refused because he wasn't Jewish. But sat at his desk, Buffett was obsessed. He kept sending letters to Graham, till one day, the author finally accepted. The young ambitious man arrived at Graham's office. There, Buffett learned his idol's philosophy and sharpened his ability to spot good investment opportunities.
It was Ben's ideas that sent me down the right path, and I got inspired working for him, just being around him every day.
But sadly, after only 2 years and so much effort to get the job, Buffett was getting fired. In fact, everyone was getting fired from the firm as Graham decided he had made enough money and wanted to retire. The young man was lost. What could the young man do now? Little did he know, this is where his fortune began. At this point, Warren Buffett had an estimated net worth of $170,000. But where did he get his billions from? Let's stop for a second and analyze Warren Buffett's beginnings. Did you notice the main character trait that he had in the first quarter of his life? Let me help you a bit. It happened when he was a kid, reading countless hours on his own, when he committed to learn at a certain university just to be taught by his idol, or even when he harassed the author to work for him. This personality trait is strong willpower. Most introverts have strong willpower, and this helps them push through obstacles that get in their way. As opposed to extroverts, introverts spend a major part of their time alone, which creates a major difference on how they act. Extroverts will set goals based on what their surroundings expect of them. Imagine you have a group of friends that like running. Every morning, they all go running, and you don't like it as much as they do, but because you're part of the group, you go running with them. This is what I mean. Extroverts are influenced by their surroundings. Introverts, on the other hand, will set goals that have deeper meaning to them, and this is for a simple reason. They are less influenced by other people. They come up with their own ideas, and only commit to things they really care about. For Buffett, this happened to be investing, an activity that generates money. And this is the power of introversion. If your passion happens to be something that generates money, you are likely to have a bright future ahead of you. Because when other people feel like working, you will just be practicing what you love doing. And Warren Buffett is the perfect example to illustrate how introversion makes a man rich. But we have yet to see how he became the richest man on the planet. Following the philosophy he learned working with his idol, Buffett created his own investment firm. People would come to Buffett, give him their money, and he would buy pieces of company for his clients. But playing with other people's money makes you responsible, and Buffett had no choice but to succeed. Buffett's bubble had always been big, and here again, he went full introversion mode to make it work. Arrived at his tiny office in Omaha, he had little staff and avoided calls and meetings. From morning to night, his day was focused on learning, writing, and thinking. Absorbed in his work, Buffett read 500 pages a day, cutting off every distraction. He didn't even promote his services himself. His good reputation brought him clients through word of mouth. Business was going good. It all worked fine until 1969. The world of investing had changed, and Warren Buffett thought his investing strategies were no longer safe for his clients. So sadly, he decided to close his own firm. The young boy was now 39, and a millionaire. His latest venture made his fortune jump from just $170,000 to $25 million. All those years he spent learning and reading alone in his bubble got him the skills necessary to achieve most people's dreams of becoming a millionaire. But Warren Buffett wasn't done. He wanted more, and more he got. A bit before he closed his first investment firm, Buffett had bought a struggling textile company. After he closed his investment firm, it was time. He decided to go all in and turn this textile business into a new investment firm, Berkshire Hathaway. Buffett stayed true to himself. He kept on investing with his own strategies, studying companies in his bubble, refining his craft, reading for 6 hours a day, away from meetings to let his mind think and learn. This work ethic led him to become the world's richest man. The young introverted boy who was losing money is now a northern introverted man worth over $140 billion, enough money to buy every skyscraper in New York. Warren Buffett's life is a clear illustration of what a highly introverted person can achieve. But one question remains: why do introverts develop skills faster than extroverts? Let's look at Buffett's life to get the answer. From a young age, he was always absorbed in his passion, investing. This drive led him to spend a lot of time on deliberate practice. And this is the key concept that separates introverts from extroverts. Imagine you like playing piano. After work, you go back home and feel the urge to play piano. So you start playing with the goal of getting better, on your own, without anyone telling you to. So you practice with an objective and learn from your mistakes. This is deliberate practice. Introverts have the advantage to spend more time on deliberate practice. Obviously, when you spend your time alone, you have to find things to do. And oftentimes, introverts get attached to an activity they become passionate about and start filling the schedule with. Warren Buffett spends all his time thinking and researching investment strategies. That's what he filled his day with. Extroverts, on the other hand, spend more time in social environments where they do not fuel their inner callings. At bars, concerts, or just hanging out with friends. And this has two effects. Firstly, they spend less time on mastering skills. You only have so much time in the day, and if you spend 6 hours hanging out with your friends, that is 6 hours you can't have to work on your skills. Secondly, because they are not used to spend extended periods of time alone, extroverts have a hard time focusing as long as introverts do on a task, which makes their time less productive. This double effect of lower practice time and quality focus creates a gap between introverts and extroverts. And this is not just theoretical matter. Research shows that on average, introverts have slightly better grades than extroverts at school. But what does it all mean for you? How can you be more introverted when you need to? Well, you'll be glad to hear that you have already made the first step. Realizing the advantages introverts have is already the first step towards adopting a more introverted personality. Congratulations! Imagine being at a restaurant. You look at the menu, order food and eat like everyone does. Everything is fine. Now imagine in addition to the price, there is also the amount of calories next to the meal. This would change your behavior. It works the same way as it does with realizing introversion's benefit. Now that you know it changes how you view things. But let's go a bit deeper. Introverts are used to being in low stimulation environments, a quiet room or a library like Buffett used to spend his time in. And so, they tend to be less distracted than extroverts. The core idea here is that the more outside stimulation you have, the more time it will take you to master a skill. Imagine yourself working on a math problem. Every 5 minutes, someone comes to ask you a question. You will soon find yourself taking an unfathomable amount of time to solve the problem that would only take minutes in a quiet room. Extroverts tend to have a high tolerance for those distractions, and as a result, they can procrastinate on their tasks. To solve this problem, you have to learn to push away the distractions. Whether it is people or your phone, push it away. Try this experience yourself. Sit in a quiet room, and before you know it, you will realize that you are thinking about things that matter to you. You are discovering your inner calling and thinking like an introvert. Your desire will emerge, not because people told you to get a certain degree or apply for a certain job, but because you want it. This is a necessary step to take action. And in reality, you're not lazy, it's just the world around you that is too loud. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next one.